No announcement, no goodbye, just gone. A couple who helped define the heart of 90 Day Fiancé vanished from the franchise without a whisper. No tell all, no farewell post, not even a recycled montage clip. Loren and Alexei were scrubbed like they were never there. For fans who have followed their relationship for years, the silence hit harder than a public breakup ever could. One day, they were all over TLC ads, cradling their babies, laughing in pillow talk clips, showing what real love looked like on a reality show built on chaos. And then, their faces slipped off the radar like a glitch. Their storylines stopped flowing. Promos got redone with other couples suddenly moved up in the hierarchy. Future show plans that were already hinted online? Gone. Fans didn't need a press release, they saw it, they felt it, and they started asking questions fast. At first, it looked like a scheduling thing. Maybe they just took a break, maybe one of the kids got sick, real life happens. But the longer the silence dragged, the more suspicious it looked, especially because TLC has never been subtle with its exits. Scandals usually play out in full surround sound. Remember Angela's meltdowns? Ed's mess, it all gets airtime. But here, nothing, not even a subtle nod. That's when the forums lit up. People pulled screenshots, timelines, archive clips, edits were changed. Old footage featuring Loren and Alexei quietly got replaced with newer cast members. Websites promoting spin-offs had their names stripped out. Even show descriptions tightened up to remove any mention of them. What started as a maybe they're resting turned into wait, are they being erased? That's when things got weird. Some insiders, hush hush, anonymous, started whispering online. Reddit threads blew up, one claim led to another, reassigned production staff, cancelled planning meetings. The way TLC froze them out wasn't just passive, it was too coordinated. Like it was decided ahead of time. One editor even allegedly said they were directed to trim any Loren and Alexei references from current season edits. No reason, no warning, just clean removal. For a couple who were practically TLC's poster children for stable love, it didn't make sense. They weren't problematic. They weren't starting fights or selling weird brand deals or burning bridges, at least not publicly. If anything, they were the show's attempt to prove that not every international love story crashes and burns. But now it was like the network hit delete. Without cause, or maybe without a cause they wanted the audience to see. Viewers who watched their whole journey, from shaky beginnings to growing a family, felt slapped. People saw them on spin-offs, Pillow Talk, 90-Day Diaries, and more. They weren't one-hit wonders. They were essential to the emotional arc of the franchise. Every time a couple blew up on camera, Loren and Alexei existed as proof that sometimes, it actually works. So when they went silent, fans started reading between every single line. No exit means one thing in reality TV, they don't want to tell you. And Loren and Alexei weren't helping the confusion. Their socials went cryptic. Deleted stories, emotional captions, sudden family travel that looked more like escape than vacation. It didn't scream break, it screamed, we got cut and we can't talk about it. Fans noticed the tone shift. The usual light, charming posts became sideways jabs about boundaries, respect, and fake people. It was subtle, but it was loud enough. Then came the bombshell. Not only were they gone, but their entire TLC path had been wiped clean from forward-facing projects. Previews for the upcoming seasons didn't hint at a cameo. There were no leftover promo clips being recycled. Entire scenes from episodes where they were featured had apparently been re-edited to minimize their presence. All without ever saying a word. Think about that. TLC spent nearly a decade building up their brand around this couple, and then quietly decided to unbuild it. Which raises the one question fans can't stop circling back to: why? Why would a network that thrives on drama erase one of their most functional, fan-loved couples without a single on-camera scene explaining it? If something went wrong, why hide it? If nothing went wrong, then what scared them into this total blackout? And more importantly, what was TLC hoping we wouldn't find buried in their silence? When Loren first appeared on 90 Day Fiancé with Alexei, she wasn't chasing clout, drama, or an Instagram empire. She was just normal. Someone with a real job, a big personality, and a nervous habit of oversharing. Viewers saw her authenticity, from her Tourette's diagnosis to the awkward family dinners, and they connected. Alexei, on the other hand, was calm, sweet, and so grounded that he practically made the rest of the cast look like cartoon villains. Together, they weren't flashy, but they were believable. And in the world of 90 Day, that's rare. While other couples came and went with flaming DMS, restraining orders, catfish reveals, and custody wars, Loren and Alexei built something. Slowly, quietly, 3 kids in under 5 years, multiple spin-offs, Pillow Talk as recurring cast, brand partnerships that didn't reek of desperation. Their storyline became the safety zone between whatever chaos Angela or Ed was causing that week. No huge scandals, no arrests, no OBGYN deep feuds on national TV. Just a couple navigating diapers, mother-in-law drama, mom guilt, and cultural differences like actual people. TLC cashed in on that image hard. They weren't just a success story, they were becoming a control story. Something the network could point to and say, see, sometimes it works. Sometimes we really do make fairy tales. So Loren and Alexei got more screen time, more spin-offs, more involvement, and slowly more leverage. That's where the shift began. Because being fan favorites in a show where producers prefer chaos to consistency, that's not always a reward. It becomes a threat. Especially when you start using that goodwill to question how the machine runs. Behind the camera, there were whispers about Loren pushing back during storyboarding discussions. Allegedly, she asked for more input into how their family scenes were framed. She reportedly wanted veto power over which moments involving their kids could make it into final edits. On paper, that's just solid parenting. But to producers used to total access, that starts to look like a problem. A cast member asking to protect their image isn't new. A cast member who knows how to use their image? That's different. And fans online noticed something else. Around the time Loren started showing more confidence on social media, posting braver captions, making TikToks that hinted at burnout, discussing body image after her surgeries, TLC seemed to pull back. The narrative started thinning, less focus on their dynamic, fewer A-plots, more filler. Then Alexei started quietly raising flags. Behind the scenes, he allegedly spoke up about inconsistent standards, wondering aloud why certain cast members' wild behavior got rewarded with more airtime, while he and Loren were constantly asked to bring more energy. According to insiders, neither Loren nor Alexei were flat-out difficult, but they were forcing conversations that most producers would rather avoid, about authenticity, family boundaries, compensation adjustments, and narrative control up against real human lives. And this is where things turn from awkward to tense. TLC likes drama when they can script it, when it comes from characters melting down on cue, but power struggles behind the curtain. With cast members who know how to play polite in public and firm in private, those get classified differently. Loren and Alexei weren't the kind of risk you broadcast. They were the kind you quietly remove before leverage turns into liability. One former staffer allegedly described the internal meetings as slippery. They weren't trying to punish Loren and Alexei. They wanted to reset the balance of power. Executives debated whether allowing them editorial influence would open the door for others to demand the same. If they gave Loren more say in what made it to air, especially around her body, her mental health, or her kids, other cast would follow. And control matters more than cast loyalty when profit is the bottom line. Which leads us to the most uncomfortable possibility. Were Loren and Alexei simply asking for fairness, or were they unknowingly threatening the one thing reality TV can't afford to lose: full control over the storylines? And if that's the case, exactly how much truth were they trying to reclaim? For most couples on 90 Day Fiancé, being edited into a storyline is just part of the deal. You smile, you cry, you throw a shoe across the living room, and producers stitch it into something vaguely resembling a love arc. But when Loren reportedly began asking for more say in how that edit was being shaped, things got tense. Because here's the thing, reality TV is only ever halfway real. Scenes are filmed out of order. Conflicts are built around moments clipped from 3 different days, and for viewers, the final product is canon. But now imagine you're the couple in those scenes, watching your arguments trimmed down to scream levels, your family moments chopped into memes, and your personal growth glossed over so a comment thread can fight over who carried the marriage. So Loren, allegedly, started pushing for what some insiders described as narrative protection. Not approval, not censorship, just better guardrails. She reportedly wanted limits on what could be filmed around her kids, more clarity on what storylines producers were planning, more input when vulnerable footage, like postpartum struggles, medical procedures, or emotional breakdowns, was being repurposed for laughs or sympathy bait. And let's be honest here, is that high maintenance? Or is it being a protective mother who knows her family has become a brand? Meanwhile, Alexei wasn't exactly waving the TLC flag either. While he kept his image less vocal, insiders claimed he was increasingly uncomfortable with how some of their moments, especially parenting challenges and marital arguments, were being cut to highlight stress over reality. In his view, the edits were starting to do more than entertain. They were beginning to define how the world saw him as a father, husband, and man. Now here's where psychology meets profit. In the reality TV universe, the cast is both content and labor. You're starring in your own life and handing over control of it to someone paid to make you interesting. And most cast members either don't ask questions or don't know they can. But Loren and Alexei were different. They were no longer just characters. They'd become stakeholders, with experience, leverage, and kids whose faces couldn't just be blurred out when things got messy. Their requests, reportedly, weren't rejected outright. TLC allegedly tried to meet them halfway, reduced filming hours, some early screening privileges, even limited input on cuts involving their children. But behind closed doors, things weren't staying civil. Legal teams started CCing more emails. Communications that once happened through producers became strictly official channels. Someone, it seems, had crossed an invisible line. From the network's perspective, the couple was now approaching a reputation risk zone, not because of scandal, but because they were behaving like equals in a system not designed for balance. Reality TV doesn't thrive on shared control. It needs cast who play along, who know their place, and who fight their battles on camera, not in email threads with contractual terms cited. Still, what Loren and Alexei reportedly wanted wasn't extravagant. They weren't asking to rewrite dialogue or ghost-produce episodes. They wanted edits that didn't flatten their marriage into mini-dramas. They wanted agency. And in an industry that pretends to celebrate authenticity while quietly weaponizing vulnerability, that's a gamble. There were also rumors, completely unconfirmed, but undeniably juicy, that multiple scenes they declined to film spiraled into larger standoffs. One alleged standoff came during a proposed story arc involving Loren's cosmetic surgery recovery. Another, focused on conflict with other cast members, was apparently deemed too contrived for them to agree to. In both cases, they reportedly said no. Now here's the funhouse mirror part. When other couples scream, cheat, and throw things on camera, it's ratings gold. But when Loren and Alexei silently withdraw, it's hostile behavior. The double standard is hard to ignore. Being fiery gets you a spin-off. Setting boundaries gets you quietly benched. So now, the question no one wants to answer out loud. When does protecting your family start getting labeled as trying to control the show? At what point does simply knowing your worth look like trying to rewrite the rules? And if staying off-screen turns out to be your only way to stay sane, does that mean your days in the franchise were already numbered? Inside a reality TV network, not all drama is meant for the screen. Some of it happens in muted Slack rooms named damage control, behind locked conference doors, and inside email threads that use words like exposure mitigation. Loren and Alexei's exit wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was methodical, silent, and way too clean to be unplanned. What started with small whispers about negotiations turned into decisive, calculated steps. Fault lines appeared inside TLC's own team. Editors reportedly reassigned mid-season. Producers rotated off Loren and Alexei's shoots without explanation. Even digital marketing managers were told to pull back usage of the couple's imagery. One person familiar with mid-tier production said it best, "It felt like someone was pulling plugs, one by one. Sound stages didn't shut down. Conversations just stopped happening. Then came the reassignments. Editors who'd worked with the couple for years were moved to other projects. Spin-offs featuring Loren as a strong contender, yes, the same ones whispered about in forums and teased lightly on Insta stories, suddenly vanished. Development for future scheduled scenes was frozen, then scrapped altogether. Emails related to prospective 90-day extensions with the couple were allegedly flagged high priority, only to get buried weeks later under digital silence. That's not creative difference, that's containment. Word eventually trickled out internally. Loren and Alexei were now considered a high-sensitivity case. It's a classification reality shows use privately, rarely openly. It doesn't mean scandal, it means risk. A high-sensitivity label flags people who, for one reason or another, represent an unusual threat to production rhythm, control, or corporate reputation. Not because they're unstable, but because they're unpredictable in the wrong direction. Translation: it's not that Loren and Alexei were difficult to film. It's that they stopped being easy to frame. Compared to other cast who have screamed into cameras, cheated on their partners, or started OnlyFans while contractually exclusive, Loren wanting stronger editorial input or Alexei questioning uneven behavior standards feels tame. But TLC doesn't always fear the loud ones. They've built seasons around chaos. It's the calm ones who pull strings behind cameras that get marked. And here's the stinger: not everyone gets treated this way. Tania can air out intimate therapy sessions, throw shade at her ex on screen, stomp out of shared apartments, and still score comeback clips. Angela can shout at doctors, Alex, and cameras, and get invited to every pillow-tossing reunion special there is. But Loren, gets muted for being too involved in how her image looks after childbirth. That's not justice. That's hierarchy. Execs allegedly feared a trickle effect. If Loren and Alexei gained too much sway, what would stop other long-term cast from doing the same? If one couple got to reject storylines, why wouldn't others start requesting editorial protection clauses too? The brand TLC's built runs on compliance dressed up as collaboration. The moment cast get bold enough to question the structure, not the storyline, the structure, that brand flexibility starts cracking. And no one wanted the audience to notice. Quiet removals aren't just cleaner, they're less expensive, fewer press issues, no need for crisis comms, no refunds to advertisers. You cut the cord and ghost it. Play reruns, fill gaps with louder couples, and let confusion dissolve into fatigue. Fans may have sensed something was off, but by the time questions were being asked, the cleanup had already passed post-production. Scenes were re-edited. Digital inserts were recut. Companion episodes were stripped of their cameos. Loren and Alexei weren't gently eased out. They were clipped out, frame by frame, pulled like pop-ups in a website redesign. Because sometimes, silence isn't neglect, it's design. And that's what breaks the illusion most. This wasn't an emotional decision. It wasn't even a reaction. It was a move. A carefully calculated downshift with every step feeling more coordinated than the last. Which is why the fans asking, what happened to Loren and Alexei, aren't chasing drama. They're decoding a strategy. A strategy only used when someone stops playing the role they were given and starts questioning who's really writing the script. There wasn't a statement. There wasn't a formal goodbye, because there doesn't have to be. When a network like TLC decides it's time to part ways with a high-profile couple, they don't do it with explosions. They do it with protocols. Ghosting is not sloppy management. It's a refined system used to choke off attention, avoid backlash, and make a person disappear slowly enough that most viewers just blink past it. By the time fans noticed Loren and Alexei hadn't appeared in recent promos, TLC had likely already rerouted months of airtime, cleared contract options, and finalized a termination pathway that requires no public drama. This isn't cancel culture, it's corporate sanitation, and it starts long before the audience ever gets cold. First step, freeze out. No one says it directly, but internal staff are slowly told to reroute communication. Editors stop asking for commentary. Social schedulers get told to pause publishing related content. Junior producers are no longer assigned to their shoot days. Suddenly, things they used to do for months, feedback calls, scheduling meetings, preview drops, go quiet, not cancelled, just quiet. Next, remove them from future planning. Any projects in development involving Loren and Alexei are flagged on hold, then inactive, then deleted from the doc queue entirely. Promos already edited, sent back for revisions. Scenes shot for upcoming episodes minimized, their lines trimmed, their presence dulled down until they're no longer the narrative. If they're lucky, they show up in group shots. If not, they vanish like hours of unused B-roll. Then come the legal moves. TLC doesn't shout, they draft. Lawyers send closure documents. Non-disclosures tighten, standard post-departure media language gets approved, and talent usually senses the door is closing when their reps are looped in, but no new contracts are offered. Usually the language isn't aggressive, it sounds almost friendly, reevaluating project direction, pausing for creative refresh, but the subtext is clear, you are not coming back, and NDAs, they're the real muzzle. Don't ask for public clarity, don't mention what you weren't allowed to film, don't contradict headlines even if none exist. Casts like Loren and Alexei, with kids, visibility, public sympathy, are even more tightly bound. Legal clauses often ensure nothing can be posted that disparages the network, even if the network drops them without explanation. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, TLC quietly redirects fan energy towards someone louder. Someone messier, someone easier to control, cast are reshuffled, new spin-offs are greenlit with more train wrecks in the pipeline. The subtle message to viewers, don't miss them, look over here instead. A known tactic internally is called the edit out and fade. It's not immediate erasure, that would cause suspicion. Instead, they apply a slow reduction in screen time, then taper social media presence, followed by a final promotional blackout. In some cases, network-owned platforms quietly remove highlight clips or delete trailers where those cast members featured prominently. It's not dramatic, it's clinical, like scrubbing metadata from a file. All you're left with is a ghost. And this isn't new. Reality shows have used this model for years, not out of cruelty, but control. Because publicly firing someone can invite criticism, lawsuits, or fans rallying behind the wrong story. But if you say nothing, release nothing, sync your silence across all channels. The internet starts forgetting before it starts organizing. There's no controversy if no one gives it a name. The scariest part isn't that they were removed, it's how long it had been happening before anyone noticed. By the time the online comments rolled in, "Where's Loren? Wasn't Alex in this season? Why didn't they promote them anymore?" It had already been a done deal for weeks, maybe even months. The fact that nobody had an answer wasn't a failure of communication. It was the communication. Networks like TLC operate on risk reduction algorithms. If a cast member starts showing signs of noncompliance, they don't create a new battle. They quietly replace the piece, not because it's fair, because it works, because silence gets fewer clicks than confrontation, and most fans never realize they're watching a show that's already been redacted. What started with one couple asking to protect their narrative ended in a silence designed to erase it. No on-screen exit, no messy public goodbye, just rerouted airtime and contracts that closed without ceremony. And if that's the playbook, how many others have already been ghosted the same way, without anyone noticing? It wasn't a press release that tipped people off. It wasn't a camera shot or a leaked contract. It was Loren's Instagram. That's where the silence started cracking. First came the trip to Israel, announced casually, as if it were just some normal family getaway. But longtime fans clocked the timing. July 4th weekend, peak filming season, right when spin-offs were locking in final cast. Loren suddenly relocating internationally with 3 young kids seemed less like a vacation and more like a retreat. She called it her true home, said her family felt safe there. It had meaning. It felt loaded. Then came the captions. Sharp, cryptic, stuff like "protecting my peace" and "boundaries aren't drama." Those aren't just beach photo tags, they're warning signs. Especially when posted by someone who's made a brand out of oversharing. The tone had changed. The joy was still there, but it was filtered through exhaustion. And the comments? Brutally curated. Anything speculating on her relationship or filming status? Gone. That's when the fences came down. Shortly after, an alleged direct message surfaced, reportedly sent by Loren, not to a troll, not even directly to her critic, but to fellow cast member Patrick Mendes. A message aimed at Patrick's wife, Ties, and full of heat. It read, "I am in Israel right now and have gotten multiple messages saying she's running her mouth poorly about me. I guess on Pillow Talk, IDK what her damn problem is with me, but I'd appreciate it if she shut her mouth about me." If you followed 90 Days Pillow Talk appearances, you already know Ties and Loren had friction before. Their tell-all tensions were real. Shady comments were made on screen, but a private message like that, while overseas, that was the first time Loren crossed the wires from silent exit to active confrontation. And Ties wasted no time going public. She posted about it, adding her own caption, alleging Loren had tried to intimidate her and her family, warning them to stop talking on national TV. The screenshot exploded. Fans flipped, not because it was the worst feud ever, but because it was so out of character. Loren rarely publicly engaged in beef, but now she was going off script and sliding into DMs like the rest of the unfiltered crowd. It split viewers. Some saw Loren's message as assertive, a mom standing up against fake friendships and unnecessary gossip. Others saw it as a red flag, a sign that the off-camera stress was breaking through the PR wall. And TLC. Radio silence, but context matters. This wasn't just about one comment. Timing is everything. The DM reportedly came after her scaling back from filming, after their names disappeared from promotionals, which suggests something more provocative. Was Loren trying to control her post-show image because she was already off the cast list? Was this damage control or just pent-up reaction? What added tension was how Ties clapped back. Her response wasn't vague. She accused Loren, point blank, of intimidation, said Loren went through her husband to send the message, implied she'd crossed a line. And whether Ties was right or not, TLC let it simmer, unchecked. No reunion sit-down, no on-air confrontation, no platforming the feud, just a DM war left hanging in the algorithm. Viewers had to put together pieces on their own. Loren hinting at trust issues on social, posting sleepy mom selfies with captions like "some days are harder than others," uploads slowed, content got filtered, followbacks dropped, stories became nonverbal. A quiet reshuffle of what she chose to show, who she avoided tagging, and what she stopped saying entirely. Something had shifted, and it didn't read like planned privacy. It felt like burnout wrapped in a branding freeze. Add that to fans noticing they weren't included in any 90-day diaries footage teases, and the questions turned into theories. Were they already gone when the DM dropped? Or did the DM become the final nail? Because when you're already pushing back behind the scenes, already raising red flags in contract meetings, already discussing story control, and then you go off script in messages that go public. You're not just part of the show anymore. You're a liability. So now the fan base is asking what TLC's executives were likely thinking that week too. Did one angry message aimed at a co-star actually cost Loren and Alexei the final shot at their reality legacy? The fans didn't need a press release to know something was wrong. They felt it. First as confusion, then as suspicion, and finally as disappointment. When you've spent years watching Loren and Alexei, their wedding, their babies, their first fights, their late-night confessions on Pillow Talk, you notice their absence like a missing heartbeat. It started quietly, too quietly. One week they weren't in the opening credits. The next, a trailer dropped for a new season, and their names weren't in the lineup. A few people shrugged it off. Maybe they were taking a break. Maybe parenthood had kicked in and they'd stepped away. But then episode after episode aired without a single shot of them. No updates, no cameos, no mentions. Their presence wasn't reduced, it was deleted. Online forums lit up. Reddit threads became timelines. Fans started comparing old previews to current episodes. One user noticed a trailer that had originally included Loren and Alexei during a family moment, which was later re-released with that clip cut. Others pointed out how their segments in Pillow Talk, once reliable, were suddenly replaced with newer voices, couples less established, loud, dramatic, unfiltered, and disposable. The real detectives, though, were the fans who went deep, cross-checking casting news, scraping promo materials, looking at who was being pushed as the next relatable stable couple. And almost everyone came to the same emotionally uncomfortable conclusion. This wasn't a break. This was a quiet goodbye. That silence hurt, not just because viewers missed them, but because this couple had become a part of people's emotional routine. For over 10 seasons, they provided a contrast to the chaos, a calm in the TV storm where relationships rarely last more than a season and self-sabotage is practically a subplot. Loren and Alexei gave people hope. They felt real. So when they vanished without any acknowledgement, it didn't just feel like a loss. It felt like a breach of trust. Reality TV asks a lot of its audience. It wants you to care about strangers, to root for relationships, to invest emotionally in stories you can't control. And fans do it season after season, couple after couple, because for all the absurdity and drama, there's always that one pair that seems like they might actually make it. That couple was Loren and Alexei. They weren't perfect, but they were constant. Through all the overproduced mess and manipulated story arcs, they offered something rare: continuity, real evolution. And for viewers who started watching during wild pregnancies, immigration interviews, and family therapy sessions, all unpolished and vulnerable, it wasn't just reality TV anymore. It was relational nostalgia. So for TLC to edit that out without a frame of closure, no fade to black, not even a "we wish them well," the betrayal felt personal, and it triggered something bigger. If they can be removed with zero explanation, who else can vanish next? What else is being rewritten after the cameras stop rolling? How much of what we've seen was edited, staged, or strategically erased? Because it's not just about screen time anymore. It's about transparency. When a decade of a couple's life is shown to millions, and then deleted without warning, it forces fans to wonder if any of it ever really mattered. It's easier to blame scheduling, or NDAs, or a quiet family decision. But fans who followed every update, every late-night post, every caption that hinted at burnout, they know there's more. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it doesn't just affect Loren and Alexei's legacy, it shifts how audiences watch everything, every relationship, every scene, every silence. Because if TLC edited over that love story, the one fans trusted most, what else are they willing to erase? Loren and Alexei's quiet exit wasn't just an isolated move. It was a roadmap, a message wrapped in silence, aimed not only at fans, but at every other couple still filming under TLC's spotlight. The kind of message that doesn't need to be spelled out, because every cast member already understands what it means. Say too much, ask for too much, protect your image too well, and you might just disappear. On the surface, their removal looked gentle, professional, even. No drama, no fallout, no narrative mess. But underneath, it revealed something about how deeply structured the control really is inside reality franchises like 90 Day Fiancé. Cast members may sign up to tell their stories, but only on the network's terms. The more popular they get, the more delicate that balance becomes, because power in this world isn't just about fame, it's about compliance, which raises the biggest question of all. If Loren and Alexei can be erased after all these years of loyalty, who's really safe? If the couple with the cleanest storyline, the strongest fan support, and the most stable family arc can be gently pushed off screen, then where exactly is the line? Cast on current seasons, especially the ones starting to gain followings, are already watching closely. They're not just filming anymore, they're calculating, wondering if their next on camera disagreement will be exaggerated or if a joke in the wrong tone might be clipped into something ugly. Reality stars used to fear scandal. Now, some of them are starting to fear invisibility, not being slammed, but being deleted. And think about the shift that signals. TLC has always traded in dysfunction, tear-ups, and chaos, but it also needed someone to ground the narrative. Couples like Loren and Alexei reminded viewers that love could work, that growth was possible, that not everything had to burn for the sake of ratings. Removing that kind of couple, not because of scandal, but because they quietly asked for more creative say, sends a new message entirely. It says that relatability alone doesn't protect you. It says that compliance matters more than contribution. It says that reality TV doesn't reward stability, it finds a way to phase it out. So where does this leave the franchise? In a weird in-between. On one side, it's still attracting new couples, new arguments, flashes of old-school 90-day chaos. On the other, it's increasingly visible to fans that some stories are more shaped than told. That the rawness that once made the show so addictive is overwhelmed by producers' ideas of entertainment flow and narrative pacing. And the more self-aware the cast becomes, the harder it is to keep that illusion going. Because let's be honest, a lot of these stars aren't wide-eyed anymore. They know how the edits work, they've seen their scenes reframed and their truths chopped into content. And now, some of them are starting to push back. Subtly, then firmly, the way Loren and Alexei allegedly did. Which is why this isn't just a disappearance. It's a warning. It shows current and future cast how quick the shift can happen, even when you've played it safe, smiled for the cameras, and been a franchise face for nearly a decade. It proves that in a world built on blurred fiction and personal exposure, the ones who ask for too much control don't get a louder voice, they get cut from the script. So what happens when more cast members decide not to play along? When they start asking where the line is between storytelling and exploitation, contract clarity and emotional manipulation, who decides what counts as value and what makes someone replaceable? Because if this silent removal teaches anything, it's that these power struggles aren't playing out on screen anymore. They're buried under edits, masked in scheduling shifts, and driven by backroom decisions fans don't get to see. But the impact, that keeps rippling, and the next time a fan favorite goes quiet, everyone will look again, pay closer attention, ask louder questions, because TLC's quiet war isn't over, it's just getting harder to hide.